Right, welcome back. Sorry, we ended quite abruptly in that first part recording. So hopefully, if you listen to this, I may have spliced it very usefully together. So we were just setting the scene on our Scottish adventure. We mentioned that Tennents was certainly the most consumed alcoholic drink that we came across, and we were just setting the scene in that we set off very early on first Friday in July, and we're provided with some excellent substance on our train journey. And again, if you do get the chance, and I think breakfast is probably the best meal, isn't it, on a train? But
No, definitely, yeah,
same on
definitely.
because the West Coast is similar as well. So we spent quite a
Yeah,
few
but that's
hours.
that's only in first class. Remember,
Oh yes, only first class. Yes, yes, yes.
you don't get any in cattle class.
You get bacon butty, can't you, in cattle class?
You can, yeah, with a hot drink for £5.
There you go. So after about 4 hours journeying, which actually was quite smooth, it was pretty much on time. The train was quite busy actually, despite it being not school holidays. We arrived in a fairly dreich Aberdeen.
It was
It's somewhere
5.5 hours. Michael. Took 5.5 hours.
5.5 hours. Sorry, I was
Yeah,
so quickly.
yeah,
It did go quite quickly actually. And
it
again,
did, yeah, it did, yeah.
there was a section of at least two different beery beverages on the train that you could partake as well, which is very nice.
Mm.
So I've flown to Aberdeen before a few times, but I think for both of you, this is your virgin trip to
I've never
Aberdeen,
been
is that
there.
right? Yeah.
It was.
Nick, you've never been.
Hmm.
And I've got to
No,
say
I don't
that
think so. No.
the airport is on the edge, so you don't really see much of the actual city from the airport. It's a nice little airport, actually. So anyway, we got off. It's quite an impressive train station, Aberdeen. Very long platforms.
Oh,
I guess because that was the sleeper trains and things that go down to London. Very impressive bit of architecture with a very nice wrought iron thing. And then we were out into the Granite City, but lots of very tall buildings, lots of kind of different levels, because obviously literally the boats come straight into the middle of Aberdeen, don't they? Which I think we've got on a picture in a
that's
minute,
honestly insane, that, isn't it?
which is quite surreal, really. Up the steps again. If you're on YouTube, you can see, and that gets you onto Union Street, which is the big main thoroughfare, really, where a lot of the pubs were. We didn't really have a massive plan about where we were going. I think we had a list of pubs that we would like to kind of try out. We had about
Well, you're relying on me, I think, because I
about two
think the
hours,
three
did we?
pubs that we went to, I had sort of
Yeah.
I earmarked and highlighted.
So the first stop we went to was just off the main drag, which is Mark Cameron's, which this one is one that suggests that it's Aberdeen's oldest pub. It's interesting little spot, wasn't it? It was kind of there was a big church that had been
Yeah.
converted into a bar. There was another kind of funny bar place next door, and then tucked away, an 18th century almost little cottage was Mark Cameron's, and
Yeah,
strange,
the little snug was lovely. Very
yeah,
lovely.
it was a bit of a warren, wasn't it?
Just
There was lots of little rooms and weird,
a lot
really.
of people
Was,
in there
yeah.
eating through the back where the main bar seemed to be. We got the snug, but the only thing that spoiled it was the television, wasn't it? Even though
Very
Wimbledon was on, it just
very
really
friendly.
took away from the historic little snug.
Yeah, and there
Having
was
a bloody
no
great big TV in the corner.
Mm.
and there,
Do you know,
and there was no beer either, was there?
there wasn't
No,
any Caspian. No, there was there?
no. But I think that's because in the snug bar, it's
Yeah,
more for the locals, and they were all drinking Tennants. So
yeah,
I got us
yeah,
three halves of Tennants dinner.
yeah, yeah,
Whereas we'd gone through the back, where most people were a lot of your tourists, a lot of your people who were classed as regulars, where they were eating. I think there were some hand pumps on the bar there.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So we did very well because we got in that snug, and the snug is something that again everybody writes about this pub, and also the snug they reckon is the oldest part. That's where the oldest bit of the pub comes from, in that
Yeah.
sometime in the mid 1800s. Mark Cameron's Amelia Mark Cameron was the landlady who ran the pub from 1937 onwards. So that's the name that stuck. Again, it's another Belhaven pub, this one. But I said we didn't see much Belhaven. As you can see in the back of that little snug, there is a little hatch, a little bit reminiscent of
That was
kind of
good.
old pubs in Ireland, etc. So yeah, it was a bit damp outside, wasn't it? So we kind of sat in there and just kind of had a bit of a breathe, really, and worked out where we're going. Like you say, yeah, that television does dominate a little bit, that little snug. 'Cause it literally was two tables, but three tables. Because we were on one, there was a three table there by the fire, and then there was a some students, were they, across the way there on the other table?
Yeah,
there.
I mean, I can understand putting TVs in pubs, especially bigger pubs where you sometimes get people who are going on their own and they don't want to sit there staring into the pint all times. So it gives them something to look at and not attract attention. But I mean, the size of that room, it's the ideal place where you talk to strangers because you're so close to each other. You can't but not avoid have a conversation or overhearing somebody else's conversation. So why they decided to put the TV in that little snug, I don't know. But because I mean, obviously you two went and sat down in there. I went to the bar and I got in straight in conversation with the very, very regular locals who were sat at the bar. There was 2 or 3 of them. And I was basically chatting to them all. And also the last behind the bar as well before it even got served and then came through to see you guys.
Yeah, it was quite splendid, the grill, wasn't it?
Yeah,
this is our next pub.
Yeah, so the next pub is back. We walked back onto Union Street again. It was quite wet now, wasn't it? And I think we'd all identified this as a potential, even just for the tenant sign outside, the fantastic tenant sign outside. Yeah. I would say though, following Mark Cameron's, all the other pubs in Aberdeen we went to were not really pubs, were they? They were kind of weird. Yeah. I don't know, really strange things, really. So the grill is on Union Street. It's opposite the music hall. And just down from His Majesty's Theatre, sorry. So I think it gets a lot of arty people going in and out of it. It was a restaurant. That's where the name comes from. It was a restaurant in the 1800s, but it's now a rather nice bar. Although, again, just reflect on Nick's point there, it was one of those typical Scottish bars where the bar down one side, there had a long table banquet, wasn't it, down the other side? And lots of individual blokes just sat there staring into their pints. And can you remember the bloke next to us? Just sat on his own, just stared into his pint.
Well, he had his paper out, didn't he? Yeah, he was sort of reading his paper.
I think it's very similar to how pubs felt when we were sort of growing up in our late teens, early 20s. In those days, you go to pubs, you get a lot of single men whiling time away. Yeah. That, to a large extent, it's gone down here, but still obviously quite prevalent up in Scotland, isn't it?
Well, this particular bar, I'm sure I read that it was one of the last pubs in Scotland to allow women in.
Yeah, 1975. Yeah, women were banned for 1975. Yeah, and
even when women were allowed in, they didn't provide them with a toilet.
Well, you remember the toilets are quite a little escapade, weren't they? Because you went down some very narrow stairs at the back. And again, if you're on YouTube, if you look at the front of this place, you'd probably walk past it. It's not a place that you'd be drawn to, is it really?
Well,
inside, it was wonderful.
Yeah, I'd warned you both and said, look, don't judge a book by its cover because it doesn't look anything at all from the outside. It almost looks as though it's boarded up. But we crossed over the road there and walked in, and it was like a different world inside. Typical Scottish mahogany, the big shelving at the back and the X glass as well.
Yeah, they were doing a very decent malt of the month. And to be fair, Mark Cameron's the malt of the month, malt of the moment, malt of the week. It's a big Scottish thing where you can get a collected malt whiskey. It was about $3.50 for a $3.50 a shot, wasn't it?
Yeah, we
can't beat that. Can you, really?
It was quite early. We didn't partake. This had a wonderful whiskey selection, didn't it? This place, and one or two of the people coming in were. And the bar staff were very quick on jumping on you. Oh, you must try this one. You must try this one. But actually, they also had a pretty good, for a Scottish pub. They had 4 or 5 different hand pumps on, which again is sometimes a rarity. And again, it was all pretty good, really good range. And so we enjoyed that. I think we stayed for a pint and a half in there. I can't remember. I know we stayed for a bit longer than we probably planned to. And then we went a little bit further up the road. I think this was my choice. And again, I'm still not sure about this place. So we then went up the road and we went to this place again called the Hof, which I now know is Scottish for gathering place. Now, interestingly, on its website, this place says we are one of the last remaining traditional pubs in Aberdeen. Yet it was nothing like a traditional pub. And then I read that it'd been a wine bar as well, and it's much more a wine bar than a pub. However, it did sell cask beer.
Well, it was one of these subterranean places. It's where you went down to the basement, wasn't it?
Yeah. And again, if you're on YouTube, you can see there. It's not a massive entrance.
Barman, I remember. Yeah, very friendly barman.
Yeah, and he had some Sky beers on, Orkney beers on. Nice selection.
In fact, it reminded me, Bruce, of the old post office in Birmingham. Remember when we went there about a year and a half, 2 years ago?
That's you're right. Yeah, a bit more
one door.
Sloobish.
It's one door.
Yeah, I do like the
shopping street. In it, you got to know where it is, really.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
So it's quite surreal.
A modernised, sanitised version of the old post office, because the old post office was quite funny.
Yeah, lots of ladies drinking prosecco, wasn't there, in here? And yet there were one or two people like us drinking cask beer. It was quite it was a surreal place, really. But anyway, as you say, very friendly barman, and staff were lovely, and it was nice, warm, clean. So yeah, it was all right. And then I think we can realise that we'd only got about half an hour or so left, so we had to start the moving, heading back towards the station. And I think, again, I'll put my hand up. It's probably my fault, this one. I suggested we should go to try out the Fierce Beer Craft Bar. So Fierce Beers are quite well known. They're the kind of I don't know, the good guys of Aberdeen compared to the big brew hoo-ha place just down the road.
Yeah.
Set up in, I think, the mid kind of 2015, 2016, very much based on kind of West Coast IPA stuff. They've got a bar here in Aberdeen, and they've got a bar in Edinburgh. And again, they normally come across as quite interesting chaps. I don't know, really. It was hard to reflect on this place. It was a typical industrial tap, wasn't it? Scaffolding poles, wood benches.
Very quiet in there too.
Yeah. And it's very quiet.
I mean, there was no kids opposite the cinema, so it gets busy. Yeah, so it was hard to get.
Daft prices and even dafter flavours as well, I seem to remember. It's those that, you look at the price originally and realise it's for a half or 2/3, and they don't actually sell it in pints, because it'd have to be, if they sold it in pints, they'd have to mark up like £8, £9, £10 a pint. And you're thinking, well, that's really quite ridiculous, especially when you get some that you probably won't like, because it's just daft flavours. I suppose, I'm guilty of it. I had the Irn Brew, but only because I'd tried the Irn Brew down at the Green Dragon in Whitby and wondered how it compared. And in fact, that one was slightly better. But as I say, when you're only buying a third or 2/3 and you're looking at £6, £7, you're thinking, well, hang on, that's the equivalent of like getting on for a tenner a pint, and you shouldn't have to pay a tenner a pint anyway. Not when you, like you say, you're sitting on scaffold plank tables and those pseudo-industrial iron stools. You can't say they spent an absolute fortune on the fixtures and fittings, but that's craft bars for you nowadays.
I mean, probably, to be fair, the good news for them is, since we've been, of course, Brewdog announced the pub closures, and they're a flagship pub in Aberdeen. That was one of those that was closed, to the surprise of many. So I suppose that will send a few people to Fierce's way, won't it? So hopefully they'll... it was very quiet when we were there, but we'll get the traffic going there.
Because I think Brewdog's just on the corner, was it, from this place? It was that when that was on the main street as well. I also would say that I think that this was probably I don't know what the word is, the most apathetic, welcome customer service that we saw as well. They kind of having a chat. They had to break away from the chat to come and say, "Oh, right, well, I'm so bad, come and serve you." And compared to where all the other boozers, actually, all the way across our trip, this was probably the kind of the one.
Very much so.
That's because we went trendy hipsters.
Oh, but there wasn't anybody else in there spending bloody money on a Friday afternoon, was there? So.
Exactly.
And that's probably why, because probably Aberdeen now is devoid of trendy hipsters. That's why Brewdog are closed down, because there's no trendy hipsters in. It's a big drugs and drink problem, I understand, in Aberdeen. It's one of those places that was very, very wealthy in its heyday, and unfortunately, people washed up there for whatever reason, and now they can't get out of the place, and it's you're isolated up there.
Right.
Yeah. I liked Aberdeen. That was the best way I could put it. I liked Aberdeen. I liked it, but I don't think I like to live there.
The only good thing about the being so quiet is we were able to do a little live podcast. So I'm just going to hopefully see if this is going to work. Let's see. And this was live actually on the afternoon. Here's a beer tap in Aberdeen on the Maltravale Big Boggies Beano to the northeast of Scotland. Nicholas is currently drinking Irn Brew beer. I'm on rhubarb beer. Bruce, what are you drinking?
The Aberdeen FC Collab fresh lager.
The Aberdeen Collab FC. So we will hopefully pick up on the train as we head back to Dundee. Our thoughts, Nicholas. Thoughts about Aberdeen initially?
Yeah, it's a long way up here, but at least the weather is holding out for us. Being a couple of traditional bars, this is obviously the different end of the scale. Everybody who's listened to our podcast before knows my opinion on craft beer, but this is like Irn Brew with a slight little kick to it, so I think I might just about manage it.
Bruce, your thoughts about Aberdeen so far?
I really like it. I mean, it's got a totally unique feel. We live in an identikit world, and it's got very much its own identity as Aberdeen. It is properly the granite city, isn't it? There's some proper solid architecture, lots of spires. People are very friendly. I'm not sure the beer scene's the best, but having said that, I really like the place. People friendly. Can't ask much more than that, can you? We look forward to Dundee.
So obviously we choose Fierce because they're a local brewery. We probably don't want to go to Brewdog, so I did notice they're around the corner. We've been in Aberdeen for about 2 or 3 hours now. We're going to be heading back down to Dundee shortly. We sort of very early from York this morning to get here. Had a nice little journey, courtesy of one of our very good train lines, and we were well looked after. And quite impressed with Aberdeen Station. No delays all the way through. So we will hopefully catch up with you on our journey. Some really late on the train. And as Nick says, we've been to a couple of very nice bars in Aberdeen. We've had some beers from Orkney, beers from Pentland. Yep, so far so good. So we'll catch up later on. Well, that worked all right, didn't he? See, on the hoof. And like a nice little summary, I think, there of our Aberdeen. Unfortunately, when we got on the train to Dundee, it was absolutely rammed. So there was no way in the world that we were going to be able to do any recording. I think we were lucky to get 3 seats within about 20 foot of each other. So yeah, a little bit of a slight.
Just drank your cans of Tennents instead.
I couldn't say, and we didn't get any real ale either because we just called him
Scots people.
We just called him some Tennents on the way. And I think I remember Gingsters, I think, as well, bizarrely, because there wasn't any Scotch spice there. So yeah, I think as we've said there, Aberdeen is quite unique. It's a long way to get there, but actually, I think you could spend another day there, couldn't you? Because we only took the surface really, and there were at least another 2 or 3 bars that we'd got on our list that would have been nice to go and have a look around. I'm not quite sure I do know that if you carry on further north, you've got Peterhead, Lossiemouth, you've got obviously a little bit of the top end of the Cairngorms, so it's quite a nice little some scenery and some sea to go and look at. The dolphins on the Moray Firth. So yeah, all in all, a good start to our journey. So I say in part 2, we will pick up when we travel down to Dundee. So we spent kind of Friday late afternoon, early evening in Dundee, and then we went to our night base, which was Broughty Ferry. Had a quick dip off to drop off our stuff at the hotel, and then went back into Broughty Ferry and had an interesting trip to Wetherspoons. Found a very, very nice ship pub with some fantastic food. And also then a wonderful little backstreet booze, didn't we? The Fisherman's Tavern, who I'm now following on Facebook, and wow, we didn't give it just. I think we were that knackered, weren't we, at the end of the journey? Yeah. That we started in there. We actually ended up going outside and got told off because we took our drinks outside. We're not supposed to, I think, after 9 o'clock. Yeah. But it was just a cracking little pub, wasn't it? And again, another little TARDIS that from the outside just looked like a wee boozer, but inside it was multi-room, really good beer, whiskey. So yeah, that'll be step 2. And then that was at the end because I got ourselves to Edinburgh, and then Newcastle, and then all the way back. So we will pick that up in another edition. A couple of weeks on, gents. Any reflections generally on our trip to the northeast?
Yeah, like I say, it felt quite a long. At the end, I think we're all tired. Our age beginning to show. 20 years ago, we went to have the last train, but everybody was pretty tired by the end of the 2 days, weren't they? We did cover a lot of ground. I think the Cascale situation in Scotland it's nothing like England, is it? Don't they care as much to the it's just bizarre. I mean, I can't think of another drink apart from Guinness outside of Dublin where one drink can be so dominant. I mean, you mentioned the mythos on Greek islands, but in terms of a country community, it's just astonishing the amount of tenants you see drunk. You look around the pubs, and literally 80% of males are drinking Tennents. It's just astonishing. That I can't believe the dominance of it, really.
Yeah, I think my main thoughts, that you mentioned just a little bit earlier, was the actual how friendly all the bar staff were. Literally every pub that we went in, they were genuinely wanting to serve you. Whereas what a lot you get down here, bar staff aren't outwardly sort of awkward or nasty to you, but it's a case of, yeah, I'm being paid to serve you. What do you want? Whereas all the bars we weren't in up there, they were genuinely, trying to engage you in conversation and having, shall we say, an honest conversation as well.
Yeah,
not just going through the formalities of, oh yeah, what you're doing, why are you here, blah 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 blah. And basically, you can tell when you're talking to people like that, it's going in one ear, going out the other ear. They're not interested, but they're being paid to supposedly be nice to you. But as I say, certainly, because I was holding the kitty, and it tended to be me going up to the bar most of the time. Without doubt, every person who served us were genuinely friendly, and so like seemed to be almost enjoying the job. Even though some of the bars were very, very busy, and it's the most difficult job in the world, knowing who's next and trying to not offend somebody because they've been waiting for somebody longer than somebody else. So yeah, that was my overall thoughts of our north of the border trip. Put it that way, friendly and how good the bar staff were.
Yeah, I think I do wonder. It's a bit like Ireland, isn't it? Because I've been writing some stuff about my Ireland trip. That it's almost a cultural difference, isn't it? In Scotland, the pub is much more of a kind of a place you go, almost your second home, isn't it? You go in there to meet your friends and have a chat. I think in Scotland, it's more of not a profession, but I think people are full-time bar servers. I think in the UK we have too many people do it for a couple of years and move on. I think if you think about a lot of those pubs we went into Scotland, like those two ladies in the grill, that's their job. That's what they were bloody good at it, weren't they? But they're professionals.
Absolutely.
And I think there's almost maybe a little bit more kudos in Scotland about being, a good bar server. I think going back to Bruce's point, I think remember, Bruce, that Scotland is a third the size of England, and yet it's only got 5.5 million people living there. So I think some of this is about market as well, isn't it? If you think there's, in the same space in the UK, there's probably 30, 40 million people crammed in the same space as Scotland. Scotland is a big drawn out place. I think what got me was probably how busy that train line was, that Dundee to Aberdeen. That train we got was almost as rammed as a Leeds to Manchester train, wasn't it? And I do wonder that's because there's not a lot of stuff going the other way. There's not a lot of stuff going sideways. It's linear. You go up and down the two tracks, and I think that has a bit of an impact on, like you say about cask beer. If you brew cask beer in Aberdeen, you're not going to get it very far, are you? It's a 7-hour drive to Glasgow. I think that's the challenge that we've probably got.
It's really vast, aren't they?
Yeah. So that's a challenge. So, I think
it could also be raw materials. I mean, you've got plenty of barley up there, but where do they get the hops from?
Yeah.
There's the additional cost of getting those raw materials in.
Yeah, and obviously, a keg of Tennents lasts for probably 2 or 3 months, wouldn't it? So, you whack that out of the sauce and do it that way. So all good, very good. So hopefully that's giving a little bit of an appetite. And I think we would definitely say if you had a free weekend and you could find a cheap way to get to Aberdeen, having flown there a few times, the flight's great. I know British Airways used to fly up there quite a lot, which is quite good. So we will hopefully meet up in a week or so's time and carry on with the second part of our journey a little bit lower down. Again, a brand new city for me, Dundee. I hadn't been to Dundee before. I was quite impressed with it. We love Broughty Ferry. Definitely worth going to Broughty Ferry. I was talking to some people at work who were Scottish and they never ever heard of it. I said, surely, no, they don't of it. So, well, you need to go because it's a wonderful place. Aberdeen, not Aberdeen, Edinburgh was time.
A bit Cornish. Felt like that was a bit Cornish.
Say again, Bruce.
Yeah, we discovered that. Yeah, it was we sort of discovered one of the most historic Wetherspoons, which architecturally wise, building was great, but again, it's not a great beer choice, was it?
No. And after it was off, which was worrying, seeing it was a Saturday lunchtime, wasn't
And we went to a beer tap that was open that wasn't open.
Yeah, certainly.
A brewery tap.
yeah. That was
we did manage to get to one of the most literature, whatever the word is, literacy linked pubs in the world, didn't we? So, which we won't tell you where yet, but you might have a clue about if it's in Edinburgh somewhere in a back street. And that was quite nice. That although you didn't like the art on the walls, you were quite critical of the art.
No.
So anyway, we'll save that up for part two. It looked like it's going to be a little bit cooler this weekend. So I don't know, any drinking plans this weekend, gents?
I'm going to not being this year. We're going to go to the AC Brewery Tap tomorrow. Did invite Nick to come with us, but he can't make it. So that's quite unique. It's the brewery tap in the middle of a huge field, really. So we're going to invite them at work, and then we'll probably ride up somewhere next week. But it heads to Italy Wednesday. Yeah.
Have you been to the boathouse in Saltaire, Bruce?
No.
Quite pleasant. Yeah. You walk down the hill from the railway station, past side to Salt, and there's a big park down there. And it's a wonderful recreation space. We went the other Sunday, me and Jackie, and there was a cricket match going on. They had some jazz playing in one of the big park, sort of like mausoleum buildings. There's obviously the river there. There's the canal. And then the boathouse is like it's like a upmarket sort of like bar, obviously food in there. But they've got an outdoor terrace, so you overlook the park, you overlook the river. And they had 3 rail ales on in there. So, quite nice. Yeah. So next time we go to Saltaire, I know you like fannies, and obviously you persuaded me that the Salt Brewery tap wasn't anything to go on until I've been there, and I think it's a cracking place. So I think within Saltaire now, there's at least 3 places you can go for a decent beer.
Yeah, well, I got the tap confused with the place. But Saltaire's going to get a massive boom because there's a film out in November, The Coral. It's Alan Bennett's
That's right,
next
one.
Yeah. And that's all
Set
filmed there.
Festival War, isn't it?
Huge boost, yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Nicholas, are you working all weekend? Have you got any time off?
No, I'm off this weekend, so I'm not quite sure what to do. It's a long time since I've had 2 days off in a row. So like you say, I'll probably see what the weather's doing. Yeah. But no doubt I'll find myself in the Spoons at some point on a Saturday or Sunday.
Well, I'm planning on doing the Potteries half marathon this year because it's a centenary. I'm doing the walking version. You can walk.
I'm going to say, bloody hell, Christ on a bike.
So I'm going to do a little practice. So I'm probably planning to get the buzz and utilize the still subsidised bus fares. Get myself out to Flash, the highest village in England, and then walk into Buxton via the Axe Hedge. A little bit of training, and hopefully end up at the brewery. So I think I might head towards Buxton Brews. That's my Sunday afternoon, I think. So yeah, I might report back on that and see how it goes. Not been to the brewery for a while. Last time I went, I was a bit disappointed.
Have you got a support crew going with you?
No, I'm just going to buzz back. If I collapse, I'll get the buzz back. There's only 3 buzzes. 3 buzzes only on Sunday. That's always 3 buzzes there and back. So yeah, you got to get your timing right.
Oh no.
So yeah, anyway, trains are no good now because the West Coast line is completely shut at Macclesfield because they're redoing the bridge or something. So they just closed the whole of the West Coast down for 3 weeks, which I just don't know who makes this up. It's bonkers, isn't it?
Bonkers, mad, isn't it, that?
Crazy. So I could have gone to Macclesfield and then zipped down to Buxton on the train, but I say it's double the time because they've replaced some bus services. It's just
crikey. There's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of disappointed bloody foreign tourists, isn't there, who normally do bloody the lakes and up to Scotland and back down that way.
Well, it's the lakes, it's Manchester, Glasgow. It's just crazy. So I think it's not that you get on a bus in London. You get on a train to like Stoke, I think. Then you've got to get on a bus from Stoke and take you to Stockport. Then you get back on the train and go to. It's just. Anyway, I've got a feeling Northern trains might still be running. I know that I don't think they can be.
I'm going to say this. But there must, there must be branch lines.
You have to go by a crew.
Surely
you'd go by a crew and go that way. Yeah, but not great. Right, gents. So,
right then,
Bruce, when are you away?
We go away a week on Tuesday.
We're having a 19 we might try and squeeze in part 2 of our Scottish trip then just before Bruce goes
Yeah, do it
away,
next week.
so that we've got it done.
Yeah.
So we might just bang out these out in a couple of times, and the stats and stuff came through from our podcast, so I'll perhaps share those as I normally do next time as well. Thanks very much. We finally got there after many false starts tonight with technology. We've got there in the end. We've nearly got, I would think, nearly an hour's stuff in the can. So I'll see what I can do, and I'll speak to you all in a week or so's time. Let me find me music.
Yeah. No music, just sing instead.
Dang. Dang.